Hello, everybody. Welcome to IGN Live, and please welcome our panelists, Shawn Layden, Michael Pachter, and Burnham. Hello. Thank you for joining us. My name's Chris. I run a website called Gamesindustry.biz. We're actually part of the IGN family, and I'm pretty thrilled to be here. Today, we're going to talk about platforms, whether that's physical platforms or digital platforms, that might end up defining the future of video games. Will consoles go away? Will everything be mobile? Is future all of us playing Fortnite games in the VR headset? I hope not. But to share their expert insight, I've got this wonderful panel today. Now, to begin with, I thought it might be good if you could introduce yourselves. But as you do, I want to know what you think is the greatest games platform of all time. Michael, do you want to go first?
Sure. Michael Pachter. I'm a stock market analyst. I have no idea why I'm up here. I know nothing about anything. The greatest platform of all time, Dreamcast. Like mind-blowing when that thing came out.
You totally stole.
Oh, okay, then wait. She said I stole hers. Game Boy. So.
I was saying you just totally stole my thunder. Hi, my name is Burnham. I'm the author and founder of Supercade. I'm currently launching a new interactive museum in Los Angeles. And I agree with Michael that the greatest platform is the Dreamcast for so many reasons.
All right. Well, I'm Shawn Layden. In a former life, I was the chairman of Worldwide Studios at PlayStation. And for me, the answer is not the Dreamcast. It's any even-numbered PlayStation platform.
Okay.
PS10.
There you go.
Ooh. Shade on PS5. Video game console sales. Video game console sales. Let's talk about consoles. They haven't really increased sales of games consoles for some time. PC gaming is becoming more accessible. Mobile gaming is becoming more advanced. We saw some Assassin's Creed Mirage. It's now on iPhone. Are video game consoles in trouble? Go on, Shawn.
Oh, is that for me?
Yeah, I think it is.
Well, it is in trouble, but it's not a new thing. I mean, if you look at the history of consoles from PS1 to PS5 and everything associated in those verticals, the global install base in any one of those, we call them generations, right? The global install base never got over about 250 million, no matter how you racked it up. There was at one point in time when the Wii came out, and thanks to Wii Fit, an extra like 20 million units got sold because everyone thought they could lose weight. But that wasn't sustainable, and that came crashing down. And we're still kind of in that 250 million overall install base of active consoles. And I think that's a challenge. We managed to do a lot over time. And during the pandemic, you talk about the revenues going up 20, 25%. But it was still just getting more money from the same people. It wasn't necessarily bringing new people into the console gaming world. So I think that's the existential threat to gaming right now is how do you break out of that glass ceiling?
Yeah, exactly. How do you grow that? And I think the answer to the question is yes and no. When you look to the future of games, and with the first volume of Supercade, I asked a number of game designers, what do you think the future of games is going to look like? And the answer pretty universally was that everyone wants to achieve this sort of holodeck-like immersive experience for games. And honestly, in my mind, I think that a home console-type platform is going to be the ideal way to achieve that type of experience. But that's a long way off, and we're just in the baby steps of that now. So consoles are going to have to evolve to meet that future, and are they going to be able to do that or not? And a lot of that has to do with content. A lot of that has to do with how we make this business more sustainable. A lot of that has to do with how we're going to foster more creativity and more experimentation. And in the risk-averse world that we're in right now, that becomes a little more of a challenge. So I'm interested to see how publishers and console manufacturers are going to rise to meet that challenge.
I think consoles are here forever.
Wow, that's the first time you've said that.
No, I believe it. I think each succeeding generation is going to be smaller than the one before it. And I think as long as it makes business sense for a game publisher or developer to put something on a console, they will. So if they can sell a single player game for $70, they will. But I think consoles are very much like movie theaters back in the 1940s, we were kind of on the verge of television coming. And what happened with TV is we didn't watch movies on TV. We watched TV shows, we watched soap operas. And then the genre kind of evolved over the next 100 years or 80 years to where we are getting movies on television. The ability to deliver movies via streaming begat all sorts of YouTube and TikTok and whatever else. Games are going that way. We're already there with games and mobile. So ultimately, I think that a developer can choose his audience, his or her audience, based upon what device they're going to access the game, and the best experience will be on a console. And there will be a small subset, a couple of 100 million, who watch it that way. And there'll be a large subset, 3 billion, who consume games a different way. And that's great. That just means more choice. What I think is really interesting, though, is the convergence of the technology where small screens get really powerful. And I'm curious because Microsoft didn't put any specs out today, but they announced 3 new consoles, 3 new Xboxes. And one is a digital only, I think 1 or 2 terabyte hard drive. Clearly, that's the Game Pass device. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to get a PlayStation owner to buy their first Xbox and sign up for Game Pass. Smart. So again, business models will evolve, but I think you're always going to have a chance to watch a movie in the theater. You're going to always have a chance to play a game on a console. Dreamcast.
Well, my thing with consoles is there's an interview right now on Gamesindustry.biz with Mark Cerny, and he talks about how games consoles, the role they play is basically making high-end gaming more accessible than having to buy an expensive gaming PC. But for me, I always thought consoles had to be more than that. I always felt that they were built for the living room as much for the bedroom, right? They were about Guitar Hero and SingStar and Kinect, and Switch still does that in a way. You've still got Ring Fit Adventure and Switch Sports, and I've got. This isn't really a question. This is my feeling. I look at PlayStation, but I particularly look at Xbox, PlayStation, and if they want to grow and find new audiences in the console space, I feel they need to separate themselves from mobile. They need to be different from PCs. They need a bit of innovation in terms of what they do, not just how they play out and they feel. That's my view on it. And Van, you talked about innovation really in terms of your vision for games.
Absolutely, and I think. When you mention mobile, and I think it's fantastic that some of these AAA games are starting to take a more hybrid approach where, people can take their game, with them, but nothing is going to replace the experience of having an 85-inch, 8K OLED, and having an experience that's crafted to that, which is like a really deep narrative where, you can get into, your Resident Evil 4s and, your Naughty Dog, Last of Us, like these type of really story-driven narrative experiences that make the most of that type of gameplay experience. I think that that's what needs to really be focused on in order to differentiate from the PC gaming, which is just a totally different experience.
Yeah. How do you see, Shawn, how do you see consoles in 10 years?
I think that, I think Van predicts, puts forward a future which I agree with, except for the fact that those games are going to cost $400 million to make, and they're going to take 7 years to get done. So that is the kind of cash burn and excessive time needed to get to product, which is really going to be an albatross on the console experience if we can't get more variety of content out there. And because games are $200, $300, $400 million to make, you don't get a lot of risk taking. It's one thing to throw $10 million out there and say, hey, make a SingStar, see what happens. Who doesn't throw $10 million out there and do that? But if you have to say, create an entirely new narrative experience about things we've never seen before and characters we've never touched before, and you want $350 million to do that, there aren't a lot of chief financial officers in big companies who are going to write you that check. Can't you do Gears of War 7 instead? Because we know what that means. So we've got to find a way to get that entry point, to lower that entry point into getting really high-end content into the community, into the business, at a lower cost point in order to bring more variety. Nothing was more variable than the PS2 era. Oh my God, from Katamari Damacy to SingStar to iToy, and you name it. At those development costs, you could do a lot more bets against that. Now we're seeing, sadly, most of the games, the big ones that are coming out, fall into well-known genre and categories that we've all seen before, with the exception of maybe something like Hi-Fi Rush, which came out last year, which was fresh and new. All the stuff we're seeing right now is pretty much extensions of where we've already been. And I'll make it quick. That's not how you get new people into console gaming. The people who aren't console players right now have already told us we're not interested in Fortnite, God of War, you name it, the stuff that we all do. So by continuing to make more of the stuff we've made before, you won't get those people in now. Say, oh, well, now I want to play Call of Duty. No, they've already decided not to. So our lack of variety in the offering of content, I think, is one of our biggest risks going forward.
Yeah, I mean, this is such an important point, and I think that the game industry is falling into the same trap that the film industry has gotten itself into, where the entire middle ground is gone. Like, nobody is making $20 million movies anymore. You either have a $5 million indie film, or you have a $100+ million summer tentpole, and that's where all the experimentation was. And as you look at the history of PlayStation, I mean, PlayStation was a success because it built up this huge library of games, and a lot of that independent games that came in, and a lot of those were financed by publishers, and publishers took a lot of risks on new IP, and that just doesn't happen anymore. And we need to find some way to get back to that a little bit in order to foster the type of creativity to move everything forward.
Do you want to go?
Well, my movie analogy was sincere, that, you know, the studios 20 years ago made over 200 films a year, the major US studios, and they're now making right around 100, and that's going to drop to 80. Yeah. They just won't make the bets, so they don't make $50 million romantic comedies, but there was this Glenn Powell movie in Sydney Sweeney that blew it out of the water, killed it, and now they're like, maybe we should rethink that. So no, you stop innovating, and the innovation happens at the low end. So you'll get Pal World, you know, you'll get like fun, cool games that seem different, but they'll be mobile first. And honestly, think about the YouTube stars that are actually recording artists now. You know, and I mean, that's Justin Bieber is one of those. Like, yeah, they exist. And think of the stars who started on television, American Idol, you know, Carrie Underwood. They exist. So I actually think there's no shortage of innovation. And I think the mobile platform allows people to start to show that they're good, and they will graduate up, and you're going to get feature-length film directors who start as, you know, TV commercial producers. Spike Jonze is one. You know, so I just think that I wouldn't worry about creativity, because there's so many people with access to the tools to make really good content that we're going to get good content.
Yeah, I don't entirely disagree with that, but then would you say that about Rare? Should Rare have started mobile first and then, you know, built their way up to make a console game? Or
I would not.
Should somebody have taken a bet that, you know what, this is going to be an amazing studio that's going to create some of the most impactful games in history?
I don't think that James Cameron should be making TV commercials. And I don't think Simon Cowell...
He makes more money making TV commercials.
But I don't think Simon Cowell should be making feature-length films. They have their skill set. They're in their lane. They both know what they're doing, and they're really, really good at what they do. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that there are kids that aren't yet born who are going to learn to create on TikTok or with a free Unity engine, who are going to make the greatest game of all time 25 years from now. I believe that. I just think give the tools to more people, because creativity knows no bounds. I'm really confident in humankind, but with emphasis on kind. If we could just be kind to one another, we have a chance of surviving.
We've got
quite the humanist today, Michael.
We've got some Pachter fans in the audience, by the sounds of it.
You know, I'm a liberal. I can't help it.
Let's talk streaming. Right. So people are starting to do it more, but the numbers very low. The dream is so people can play their games on any device without the need for expensive hardware, and that's been the pitch for, I don't know, over a decade now. Is it ever going to get there?
No.
And then we're done.
Well, never's a long time, right? Not in my lifetime, anyway. I still think one of the things that mitigates against the widespread proliferation of streaming gaming platforms is the crap internet that we still have. Oh, I got some applause on that one.
Japan can do 317 terabytes a second.
Right. So if you live in Tokyo, Seoul, or Stockholm, you can have a streaming game life right now. If you live in Stockton, Muncie, Indiana, or actually London, England, you can't have a streaming experience.
The answer is no.
So So, I mean, that's why even at the national government level, we have rural broadband initiatives. It's a government initiative to try to get more broadband out there. So the spread of streaming gaming is also delimited by the ability to have the infrastructure that was to provide that. That's the one thing. The second thing about it is, when you talk about cloud gaming, there's two aspects of that. One is cloud as delivery device, streaming gaming via the cloud going out. The other one is cloud gaming where you are able to leverage the power of server-side CPU and GPU, leverage into server-side compute, which will give you more power than your console ever could at a price point you could afford. Then it becomes kind of interesting. If we make the server side do more of the heavy lifting and provide something that current console technology or even next gen can't do from cost and maintenance, all that kind of stuff, then maybe you get some more interesting ideas around that. But as far as the Netflix of gaming, I don't see that happening anytime soon, successfully.
Yeah, I have a tendency to agree with that. As a historian, you just have to look back. The last 15 years have been littered with some of the most spectacular failures in games, whether you're talking about, OnLive and sadly Stadia. And I think just the technology is just too far away to make that a really viable platform. But that said, I'm very excited to see what Netflix could possibly do, with the right direction. So we'll see.
I take the opposite view. I think streaming is going to absolutely dominate. I don't think it will replace console gaming. I think we will continue to buy consoles or some very powerful device to play multiplayer because latency matters. Single player games, single player RPG, no. You can absolutely stream that. And who cares how fast your internet connection is? So it buffers, so it stalls. It's you don't care, you didn't die. So I really think that the game experience will be tailored to that. I think that you're not gonna see Call of Duty multiplayer on streaming ever, but will you see Call of Duty single player campaign? Trust me, there's a reason why Microsoft fought so hard to buy Activision. They want that game on Game Pass.
And then gave all the streaming rights to Ubisoft.
Well, they were required to by some nut jobs in the UK, those UK regulators. Yeah. But again, that just means they have to pay to get those rights back, and they will.
But not to get too into the weeds, I think any streaming service which has content that's of the AAA variety that you and I know and love, and if you're talking about day and date with a physical and a streaming for a subscription price, the economics don't math.
That's what I was going to ask.
Absolutely right. No, Shawn, you're right. It makes no sense. And I had a sell rating on Netflix for 10 years because it made no economic sense that they would spend what it took to get where they are. Nobody in the value chain should have fed them content, but they all did because they were dumbasses. And Netflix exploited everybody to get where they are, and now I buy on them and I love them. They're absolutely profitable. So what company in the world is worth $2 trillion and has, I don't even know what they have on their balance sheet, 400 billion of cash and can tough out the losses? Oh, that might be Microsoft. I don't think Meta has a chance. I don't think Netflix has a chance, but Microsoft, either Phil Spencer is gonna die penniless on a bread line because he flopped, or he's going to die a billionaire.
I don't think
we're going to find out. I'll take billionaire.
I'll take that wager right now.
He's here, so if you guys want to give him a piece of bread, I'd appreciate it.
My question about that, Michael, is the business models. I think is a problem because streaming. We watch lots of TV shows, right? So we subscribing to a variety of TV shows makes sense. I'm not talking about anybody here, but most gamers on average play one or two new games a year. So the idea of subscribing to a service for that. So if subscription isn't the model and you're trying to get streaming to work, are people going to pay $70 to stream whatever game that is, God of War, and that's because to my concern, there's the technical problem which we talked about, and then I'm still not convinced by the business model.
Access entitlement is not ownership, right? If you're paying for the privilege of accessing this content that can be turned off at any time, you don't really own it, do you? Yeah. So that's why I don't think it works.
So do you want an answer?
Well, it was.
That was my answer.
Do you have an answer?
Yeah, of course I do. So the answer is, if Microsoft were to say, let's take Facebook and Apple and Google out of the equation, our platform fees are zero. put your free-to-play game on Xbox Game Pass. 0 platform fees. You keep 100%. Do you know how many mobile games would be there tomorrow? All of them. All of them. So then you suddenly have 3.5 billion people who play mobile games who could stream by joining Game Pass. Will they pay $15 for that? Probably not. But if you're a Game Pass subscriber, how about World of Warcraft? If you're a World of Warcraft subscriber, it's free. When you say we play 1 or 2 games, how many of you guys play mobile games? Anybody in the audience play mobile games? Anybody play more than 1? Oh, there you go. No, we all play like 10 games. It's just that they're not on the console. So I actually think you add 250 million Candy Crush players, because that's how many there are, and Microsoft owns that one. It instantly exposes those people. And again, what about an ad-supported Game Pass? You have to watch an ad before every time you log on. Wow, knock the price down to $5.99 or $6.99. How many more people will join? I think there's a model out there. Microsoft is not stupid, and they actually read what I write.
They are certainly. They're certainly giving it a go, so we'll find out. One of the other big developments in games, a platform you can play games on today, is like Roblox and Fortnite, right? So these games are effectively like consoles. You know, you've got kids and amateurs making games on these in their bedroom. You've also got professional game developers. Lego and Disney are making games for these platforms. I think there's a Sonic game on Roblox. Fortnite has 100 million monthly users, so you're looking at a bigger install base than many of the consoles. Where do you see that going? Who wants to go with that first?
Where do I see that going? What is that?
That the idea that these metaverse games is where people will play games in the future.
Yeah, I think that's, you're talking about sandboxes, right? So you can go to my Roblox sandbox, build my thing, and over in Fortnite, build my thing, and Minecraft has that, aspect of that as well. I think that's a great category of gaming. I think that continues to go on, and the output becomes more sophisticated, and it's not like you have to squint to really see if that's a character, because the resolution will get better and the models will get better and it'll be more interesting. I think it's a good UGC way to create content that fits into the pipe. But again, I don't think it obviates or it sublimates, big epic single player narrative gaming. It's just another part of the food chain.
Yeah, I mean, those games exist in their own reality, and I think one of the issues,
and not dismissing it. I mean, it's just a different thing.
It's what part of the problem is that so many publishers look at the success of those platforms like, oh well, we need to do that. It's like that. It's an accident, it's engineered to a certain extent, but it's like you can't like just click a radio button and say I want this ad to go viral. It's like you can't make that choice. So it's like, will there be more content that is able to achieve that level of success and find that audience? Maybe, but that's not something that you can design. It's something that has to resonate with an audience, and it's like lightning in a bottle. So I think we can't treat it like that's a viable business model to replicate that. And I think a lot of publishers have gotten into trouble trying to chase that when it's not something that you can just attain by throwing money at it. It's something that has to happen organically. So will there be other games like that? Absolutely, but I don't think that's something that can exist just as a category. It's like you can't engineer success like that.
Yeah, I'm sort of talking specifically though, people like Lego who have made a game in Fortnite, right? And Disney who are building a theme park effectively in Fortnite, and Harmonix's latest music game is in Fortnite. And sorry, Michael, go on.
So there are 2 platforms that are doing the same thing. One is Roblox and one is Fortnite. Roblox is way ahead because of the business model, which 100% is an accident. They didn't expect this to happen. The reason they don't have more third-party games on there is they keep 70%. Everybody else gives the developer or publisher 70%. Roblox understands this and knows that they can flip that. I cover them as well. I've had these talks with their CEO, and the CEO goes, well, how can I flip to 30? My revenue will drop. And I go, well, why don't you just have a threshold? Above $10 million, the fee instantly drops to 30. Because there's like 5 games that do more than $10 million. And he was like, oh, that's not a bad idea. They'll get there. When they get there, they're just like iOS. They're just like Android. They're just like Xbox, PlayStation, not for AAA Xbox experiences, But for absolutely Helldivers or Pal World, you could do that. So I actually think they're onto something, and I think they're going to figure it out. Fortnite is absolutely doing that, and they're keeping way less than 30% to encourage all those other guys to be there. Those two guys are going to slug it out. I don't think either one's going to win. I think they're both going to win. And I think that the consumer wins because we're going to get more choice.
And Fortnite was an accident as well.
Right.
Right. I remember when it was a $70 game for a brief New York minute. Yeah.
I'm conscious of we only got 5 minutes left, and there's a big question that we've got right on here is that where will you be playing games in the future? And I worried if I start talking about mobile, which is going to be my next question, that we wouldn't get to that question. So I'm going to ask this question now. Where do you think we will be playing video games in the future? Where's that? What's the future of playing games?
I think that's impossible to predict, but one thing I think is likely true is in the current environment where costs of productions are getting great, there's disparity between platforms, it takes more to get into gaming, which is a problem we should solve for. It does feel like we're at a VHS Betamax moment. Mm-hmm. You know, one team is more like VHS and one team is more like Betamax. I mean, Nintendo is in its own lane, in its own part of the planet, and they do great things, and sometimes there's multi-plat, sometimes there's not. But I think we're at a point now also, if you look at what the Xbox architecture and the PlayStation architecture looks like, you rip open the box, it's both built by AMD, right? So there was a time, 360 versus PS3, that architecture was so different, it makes your hair go white thinking about trying to do multi-platform against those. But now it's pretty much, as we say, only dogs can hear the difference between these two pieces of technology. You know, we're talking about ray tracing differentials. And most of us don't really have TVs, and we have TVs with sunlight hitting across the front of it anyway, so you can't see the ray tracing anyway. So Xbox, PlayStation, and high-end PC, that's almost at a plateau where all things being equal, they're pretty much the same. And I think we would be in a better world if we can get down to one standard home console technology that we can all come together and get this platform war thing out of the way.
Van?
No, I agree. And I think that as much as I want to imagine a future where there's more really exciting, high-end, location-based gaming environments, I think that is going to happen. Just like, you know, people will still go to the theater to see a film. I think, you know, people will create some amazing metaverse volume where you can go and interact in a specific type of world. And I would love to see that. But I think that, you know, generally we're going to be playing games at home in the environment that we've created.
I'll be playing games on the toilet, typically at about 2:30 when I get up.
There's an image for you guys to go home with.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it's exactly like consumption of video entertainment. You know, 100 years ago, no one could have conceived that we would consume filmed entertainment outside of a movie theater, and now you can consume it right now on your phone. So I just think games are going to keep going that way, and the experience will be dumbed down for your phone and sped up for your 85-inch LG LED, OLED. But everywhere. I think we'll play games everywhere.
Well, I think mobile, one thing we didn't touch on is that mobile, in some markets, they don't have games consoles. It's too expensive. Gaming PCs are too expensive. Mobile is the way to reach gamers in India and Brazil and places like that. So there is an element of mobile. This multi-format feature that we're talking about it's needed in order to reach people that don't have PlayStations.
Yeah, and I think we need to really put this in perspective. I mean, this industry is barely 50 years old. I mean, look how far we've come from, you know, just phosphorescent blocks on a TV to the immersive worlds that we're creating. We're going to be able to do things that we can't even imagine, even us up here, that we can't even imagine in the next 50 years.
I also think variety is going to be a thing. It's not just about these are the big platforms, but I love my Analog Pocket. It's a beautiful little machine, and it's really well done. The Playdate, you know, the Steam that we're starting to see these new devices, and they're finding audiences, and I think we'll hopefully continue to see variety. We're going to be ushered off the stage. I think I'm really sorry. I'm disappointed.
Get the hook
out. Time. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Shawn. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Van. Give them please a round of applause.
Thank you all for coming.
It has been an absolute pleasure. If you want to hear more analysis and opinion, do check out gamesindustry.biz. This is what we do. Sign up to our free newsletter, and I'll listen to our free weekly microcast. If you're interested in games business, that's where you need to go, or listen to the Pachter Factor or anything like that. You'd all love it. Thank you for watching, and please enjoy the rest of IGN Live.
Cheers, guys.